Today, we're going to take our first look at the legendary tier Italian cruiser Venezia. But this isn't so much going to be a review of the ship as it is going to be a review of the gameplay in this match, because I've got a pretty good one for you. And in any case, I don't think I've played the Venezia, the Lucian, or the new Francesco Ferruccio enough to give a reasoned and accurate review just yet. That'll be coming later in the week for Lucian, Venezia, and Ferruccio. Although, speaking of Ferruccio, if you caught my stream yesterday, you might have walked away with the impression that the Ferruccio kind of sucks. Well, I played it subsequently offline after that, and I don't think it sucks anymore. More on that later, but today, for this video, what we want to do is take a look at this gameplay, because it's well known that the gameplay on Update Mondays in World of Warships Legends is often, let's call it, subpar. And there is no ship in the game, I think, that exemplifies subpar gameplay better than the legendary tier IJN torpedo boat destroyer Shimakaze. Practically every time I see these things, they're played so very poorly. But take a look at this Shima, who we are taking care to not run into. This Shima begins the game by providing me with a smoke screen, okay? Which is lovely, actually. The Venezia, of course, comes with its own smokes. It's the same as the rest of the Italian cruisers. They're the exhaust smoke generators or the rolling smokes that follow you at full speed. But if I'm able to sit inside of a Shimakaze smoke for a minute, that is going to be much better than using the 45 seconds or so that the rolling smoke gives me. And there, by the way, we were checking the smoke firing penalty on the Venezia. It is a very comfortable 6.3, I think it said. Might be 6.2, somewhere around there. But we're reasonably safe from being spotted as we fire inside of this smoke screen. So in any case, there is an example of that Shimakaze doing some very useful team play. And we can see his torpedoes, too. They're coming straight at, not the Schroeder, but the battleship out there, the Frederick de Grossa. And they've taken away most of his HP. One of our torpedoes manages to hit the Schroeder as well, so we're just going to continue firing sap into these guys, leave the smoke screen a little bit. We don't want them to spot us and get too close. But together, Shimakaze and I, from our various positions, me inside of the smoke screen, him over there on the flank, we're going to be able to make pretty short work of the enemy presence inside of this cap. And this Shimakaze is going to go on to do very great things as this match develops, honestly. I was so impressed by his gameplay. I went to the official World of Warships Legends Discord and just kind of asked in vain if anybody knew the name of this particular player, just because I thought he played so well. There's our first kill, by the way, on the Frederick de Grossa. And, of course, nobody really responded. I don't know if he's in the official World of Warships Legends Discord. Judging by his name, I think he might be a Spanish-speaking individual, so I doubt he'd be in the English section. But anyway, he played this so very well that I wanted to highlight it because we see too much negativity, I think, even from me included, on Update Mondays about the quality of the gameplay. Yes, this game is chock full of potatoes, but there are also some diamonds in the rough, some chads. In any case, this game is not off to the best start. The enemy team has managed to secure 3 of the 4 caps. We do have a cruiser inside of the Charlie cap on the other side of the map who is contesting it, so at least the enemies are not drawing points. And we're going to be able to get into the Alpha cap along with the 3 other ships that are near us. We've got a battleship, a cruiser, and another destroyer to the north of Alpha. We're going to be able to get into that cap and probably flip it as Chad Shimakaze starts heading toward the Delta cap. Originally, I was kind of wondering why he didn't want to come into this cap and flip it right away, but I think what he's doing is trying to get some intelligence data around that corner there. We get spotted, which is interesting. The Venezia's concealment is certainly one of the highlights of the ship. We've got 10 kilometers by sea using the concealment module, and of course Mikawa as one inspiration. That 10 km detectability is quite good, and the fact that we're spotted means, of course, there is one of the enemy destroyers around here. Now, the thing about Venezia, as we will see, especially later on in this match, is the sap. Oh, by the way, the destroyer is Lucian. Those are the deep water torpedoes. We don't see them till they're right in front of our face. But the Lucian gets close enough to us that he's spotted. I really regret taking that shot at the minnow before noticing the Lucian there, but we see him now, and we should be able to push in and hopefully get a shot before he goes dark. He's at full HP, broadside to us, and one single sap salvo. Well, more or less enough to almost kill him. The team is going to be able to finish him off now. But I can tell you one thing about the Venezia. You do not want to mess around with this sap. You know the old adage. I won't say the actual word, but you mess around, you find out. And the degree to which you mess around with a destroyer versus a Venezia is the degree to which you're going to find out. I have dev struck a couple DDs last night with this sap. It is no joke. You do not want to be spotted by a Venezia, although luckily, I suspect a lot of people are probably going to run HE on this ship. HE is not something I feel is necessary to test on this ship. I've looked at the stats, and I think if you choose to run HE on the Venezia, then congratulations. You've trolled yourself into creating a slightly worse Zao to play. The sap offers something a little bit more unique. In any case, we're about to take this cap, we flip it, we get the assisted cap ribbon, and take a look at the minimap. The Chad Shimakaze is inside of Delta, flipping it now, which means we're going to have 3 capture circles to the blue team's name. But the ship count is a little bit worrying. It's an even 5v5 right now, and in fact, it's almost even in terms of ship class, but we only have 1 battleship, whereas the enemy team has 2. And then, of course, it's 2 destroyers and 1 cruiser each. In any case, now that we have taken the Alpha cap, we notice that Bravo is starting to turn red. But I don't feel any need to go back and defend it, because Chad Shimakaze is busy flipping Delta. We'll simply trade Delta for Bravo, and it'll be mostly a points-neutral exchange. The enemy team is still ahead of us, by the way, so we have a little bit of clawing back to do here. But now that Chad Shima has flipped the Delta cap, he's, I think, gonna go head over to Charlie. Most of the enemy team was last spotted over there, but it's very unlikely that they're all still there. And, well, take a look at these torpedoes from our Chad Shimakaze friend against the Borgonia. Yeah, that's right. He's dead. That's, this guy. He's taken a cap. He's flanked the cap where he spawned on, launched torpedoes at the ships there to help me deal damage to them, provided me a smoke screen. Now that he's taken 1 cap, he's headed toward the other cap, and he's going to go take that. He's basically dev-struck a Borgonia, more or less. And, well, we're going to have to help him out against this Alaska. This guy is going to, of course, be the biggest threat to our Shimakaze, and we need to keep that Shima alive because he has demonstrated he knows what he's doing. So Alaska, we shoot a salvo of sap at him. The results may or may not be great. This zap is pretty good against lightly armored ships like cruisers, of course. American, French, British battleships. Does struggle, though, against German, Italian, Russian battleships, and some cruisers, too. In order to get this sap really working, you do have to hit the parts of the ship that you can actually penetrate, and that requires a little bit of precise aim. In any case, we've got Schlieffen out there, who's actually pretty stealthy. He catches us off guard, and we're sort of lucky we don't get taken out there by a citadel or something, but we're able to use our last smoke screen and disengage, go dark. We have some torpedoes going at the Schlieffen. Shimakaze, by the way, is doing a good job of hanging back from the Charlie cap at the moment and not getting himself killed by the Alaska. Our goal is to move toward him and help him out as much as we can. We've got some torpedoes out at the Schlieffen, along with some torpedoes from our teammates, and Alaska is pushing very aggressively, not necessarily... Oh no, he is pushing straight toward our Shimakaze. He's not giving us quite flat broadside, but he's giving us enough of an angle that we should be able to farm the upper part of his ship a little bit with sap. There's like a 7k hit. We're over 100,000 damage done now. Taking some secondary shots from the Schlieffen, but he's pushing straight into our other destroyer, who I think might also be another Shimakaze. and the battleship as well. He's on low health. I don't think he's going to end up surviving for too much longer. But really, it's the Alaska that needs to be taken care of. And I was kind of hoping that Henri over there would be able to do a little bit more damage. Because we are damaging the Alaska with this sap, but it's not quite enough to take him down. Maybe it would have been better to switch to the AP, but then again, he is quite angled. In any case, he's getting kind of far out of our range, but take a look at that torpedo salvo. Is it going to hit? Yes. Chad Shimakaze requires no assistance. He even takes out the radar cruiser with his torpedoes, and that leaves the cap clear for him to take. So we don't have to worry about him anymore. He's going to go into Charlie and flip that. We'll see if we can't finish off the Schlieffen. We take aim at his superstructure where we know the sap can pen, and this time we dial in the salvo accurately enough that it's enough to take out the Schlieffen. However, the Alpha cap is still turning red, which means there's a destroyer inside of it. And here we get an indication of where the Venezia might not be so great. Well, the maneuverability is not good. The rudder shift is pretty slow. I want to say it's something like 13 seconds. And we don't have any utility in our consumables. We've got the smoke screen and the heel, both of which we've already expended. And then we've got the fighter plane. None of this stuff really helps us deal with destroyers. We don't have any sonar to warn us of incoming torpedoes, but what we do have is the ingenious skill on Francesco Mimbelli. You can see the number 1 appearing by the eyeball, signifying that the enemy ship is aiming at us with their main battery guns. This is actually sort of a useful thing for counter torpedo maneuvers, because that 1, that only appears when the enemy ship is aiming at you with their main battery. If they're aiming at you with their torpedoes, the little number 1 goes away. So if you know that a destroyer is what's spotting you, and you see the indicator changing, going from 1 to 0, it might be because the destroyer is launching the torpedoes when the number 1 goes away. And so you change your course, which is going to give you a better chance of avoiding them. Something that you can do if you, for example, don't have sonar. In any case, one of the other enemy DDs has gone around us, and he's going for Delta. Shimakaze is going for Delta as well to counter that, but we were going toward Alpha to try to find the DD that was there. And we do. It's the Gearing, who decides, for whatever reason, it's a great idea to open up fire on the Venezia at 5 kilometers, despite the fact that he's launched torpedoes at us from that direction, and his opening fire prompted us to turn and, well, mostly avoid the torpedoes. We don't avoid that one, and it takes us down to almost no HP. Little bit of a problem, but if we can trade ourselves for the Gearing, well, then I think we've got a shot. And Gearing comes out of the smoke screen way too overconfident. Do not try this with a Venezia, because, well, the Gearing goes down, there's Confederate metal, and we end the game with 3 kills and 131,000 damage. Perhaps not the most impressive numbers you've ever seen. Or, I'm sorry, 4 kills, but a good game nonetheless. And the last remaining destroyer, well, the Shimakaze spots him, and he's got almost no HP. So what does the Shimakaze do? Well, just like a Chad, he opens up with his guns. He doesn't bother trying to torpedo a destroyer that is running away from him. No, he uses the consistent armament to take him down and clutch the victory for our team. I can't say enough good things about how well that Shima played. That was possibly the most refreshing thing I have ever seen on any Update Monday in this game's history. GG, Shimakaze. Well-deserved 2,900 base XP, second on the leaderboard behind me, and we only have about 30 more XP than he does. Together, I think the both of us sort of carried that game. And, well, I'm glad we did. That was some excellent gameplay on the Shima's part, and the Venezia is at least a little bit of an interesting ship. More material on the Venezia and Lucian coming later this week. Hope you enjoyed the video for today. If so, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.